They are about to announce details of strike action by BA cabin
What I
crew.
intend to do is read a statement. Just bear with me. It's a slightly long statement, and then, of course, we'll answer questions that you have. The talks we've been conducting with British Airways over the entire course of this year reached a conclusion this week. Regrettably, management turned down a remarkable offer from the union, which would have given the company everything it said it wanted, whilst also meeting our members' concerns. This offer gives the lie to the smears that these skilled and professional employees are mindless militants, indifferent to BA's difficulties, or are defending a privileged position. The company contests our calculations, but quibbles over the precise costing of our concessions pale into insignificance compared to the losses that BA will sustain in the event of an industrial dispute. However, despite spurning this proposal, British Airways management finally submitted a formal offer of its own to Unite yesterday. It's welcome that the company acknowledges that negotiated agreements, not imposition, is the only way to conduct mature industrial relations at British Airways. It's right that cabin crew should be given the opportunity to consider this offer, although it falls short of what we believe is needed to address the legitimate concerns they have about crew complements and service delivery. Unite will therefore hold a consultative ballot of our cabin crew members to ascertain their view on the offer. We would anticipate getting the result of this consultation by the middle of next week. However, we are unable to recommend the offer and are therefore also setting strike dates in accordance with the mandate that the union has twice overwhelmingly secured from our members. Strikes are planned from March the 20th, 21st and 22nd, and further on March the 27th, 28th, 29th and 30th. There will be no strikes over the Easter period, as we have already promised, but further industrial action will be called to take place after April the 14th if the dispute has not been resolved. The consultative ballot we are holding will be conducted before the first day of industrial action is scheduled to take place. Should that ballot show a majority in favour of the company's offer, then all strike action announced today will of course be cancelled. These have been very difficult negotiations, unnecessarily so in my view. I represent a workforce which has repeatedly made it clear that it is proud of its company and prepared to make extraordinary sacrifices to see it succeed. The customers they care for have always been at the forefront of their concerns. But we have been faced with a management which at times has almost seemed to want a dispute. Every time talks appeared to make progress, the chief executive or another senior manager has popped up making public statements designed to inflame the situation. This has led to the view that BA management's real agenda is destroying trade unionism amongst its employees. Should our members accept the company offer, Unite stands willing to work with British Airways to restore its industrial relations, its image and its prospects, provided we have a willing partner on the management side. Should they turn the proposal down, then in the absence of a better offer from the company before the dates I have announced for strike action, Unite will stand foursquare behind our cabin crew members in their struggle against industrial dictatorship, and we will call upon the whole of the labour movement at home and abroad to stand with us. Thank you.
Then, John Moylan, BBC News. What do you say to the hundreds of thousands of passengers who are now facing disruption for the second time in a matter of months?
Well, obviously, as the statement said, we are regrettably in a situation where, despite the efforts that we've made to put forward these concessions, and when you get an opportunity to digest the concessions, some of you, and indeed your viewers and listeners, will find them extraordinary. But the company have said no, and that's why we believe that perhaps there's a secret agenda. Every time we were in negotiations and making progress, another statement was made by the chief executive which was inflammatory and seemed to cut the legs from underneath his own negotiating team. So it is regrettable. We are hoping that we can still, even at this late hour, conclude something satisfactory. But we are being pushed into a position that is being inevitable now, I think, with the company's attitude. Sorry, Sky.
Sky News. Aren't you concerned that longer term this is damaging not only to the company but to your members' chances of holding on to their jobs?
Well, it's certainly damaging to the company, of that there's no doubt. And whenever a company is damaged, it affects all its employees. Remember, Unite has 30,000 members working for British Airways, so all of our members are concerned about the current situation. That's why we've worked so hard, exhaustively, over the last 9 weeks to try and see if we could get an agreement, and that's why we put forward the type of offer that we did, which met all of British Airways' criteria, and yet they still turned it down. So, of course, it's a problem, and we'll continue to work to try and resolve those issues. Our members, and they have demonstrated it in these negotiations, have repeatedly made it clear that they are proud to work for British Airways. They are the ones, more than any, that have created this worldwide premier brand of British Airways, and they don't want to see that destroyed. So, of course, we are concerned about the situation, but we feel that we have been forced into this by the company.
Mariam Bashiri, BBC News. You say BA's offer falls short for you. How does it fall short?
Well, I mean, you'll be given documents later if you want to look at the details. In fact, my colleagues Steve Turner and Brian Boyd will be in the International Lounge giving detailed briefings to anybody who wants to look at the details. These negotiations have been complex and have ranged over a whole wide issue, and therefore it'd be difficult to go into where things fall short. I think it's suffice to say that it was the union's offer that we placed on the table some time ago that would have resolved this dispute and would have achieved exactly what the British Airways management have been looking for some months now.
How convinced are you?
Sorry, John, let me take somebody else.
Channel 4 News. Do you have concerns that support for a strike amongst your membership is turning off?
No, I mean, obviously, what you need to understand is during the last number of weeks, the management have engaged in the type of intimidation that, quite frankly, is disgraceful, and the threats to our members have been outrageous. And, of course, people become concerned and frightened by that. And I've no doubt that many of our members will be looking very closely at that situation. However, the feedback that we get, and it was reflected, remember, in the ballot results that we have, show an enormous amount of support for the stance that our stewards have taken in the negotiations.